Trusted, live, and local. Your community all morning long here on 1480 WHBC.
Good morning and welcome back to News Talk 1480 WHBC. We're live and local. I'm Jordan Miller. Thanks for listening. Joining us right now is a local author, Mark Zimmerman, who he just published a new book. And it's something that I believe, even if you're not a sports person, you could get behind. This is a historical novel of a 1946 baseball season. Again, written by Mark Zimmerman. Joining us right now is Mr. Zimmerman. How are you doing this morning?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, Jordan.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So, what's the name of your book, and what's the storyline here?
Well, the book is called Eli, the Phenom's Story, and basically what it does is it begins at about the point where Bill Veeck bought the Cleveland Indians in 1946, and he had two of the greatest players in all of Major League Baseball. He had Bob Feller and he had Lou Boudreau, but along with that, he also had a sixth-place team. The Cleveland Indians of 1946 were a team that had really good pitching and absolutely no hitting. Do we see any parallels with today? That's basically where the book starts, and Bill Veeck is sending out his scouts far and wide to literally try to find a needle in a haystack, and what he comes up with is a young 19-year-old Amish kid from Holmes County who can just knock the cover off the ball and run like the wind. Okay,
so I'm looking at this, and not only is he young, but he's a farmer, a carpenter, a horse trader, a blacksmith, and now he's going to add ball player on top of that.
Yeah, basically, he plays in the family or the community games every Saturday, and it just so happens that when Bill Veeck sent his scouts out, one of his best scouts is driving to see somebody else play and pulls over with his sack lunch and just starts watching this game unfold down the hill from him in Holmes County. And what he sees is something that he has never seen before.
Wow. So I don't want you to give it all away, but it sounds like a great book. And I was actually looking on your Facebook this morning, and I saw a couple weeks ago when you posted a link for people to purchase the book, and it seems like you've sold a good number of copies already. Is that true?
It's off to a good start. As this being my first venture in this, I've been writing since I was probably 8 or 9 years old in various ways, but this is my first venture in this kind of writing. And so really the goal here is to break even. And I'm sure if there's anybody else out there who has self-published, they're nodding their heads right now in definite agreement. But I think it's interesting that before you brought me on, you mentioned that it's a book that might grab just about everybody. And I think that's where I was writing from. My wife is not a sports fan, and she has loved it. I have friends who are baseball fans who love it. And if you have some familiarity with the Cleveland area, let's just say that there are some Easter eggs in the second half of the book that people will just kind of go, oh, when they find them.
Yeah. Well, when you say 1946, my first thought is the 48 World Series. We're a couple years prior to that World Series, which was the last one that the then Indians won.
Yeah, and I think the reason I chose 1946, there were a number of them. Number one being, I think I didn't want Eli's story to get lost in a world championship in 1948. And then 1947 is when Larry Doby signed and broke the color line in the American League. And I didn't want Eli's story to be intermixed with that story either. Oh. So putting him at a place where Bill Veeck bought the team and realized that he didn't have any hitting when he bought the team in '46, it really kind of put me in a place where I could have a lot of fun, not only with Eli as he discovers this brand new world he never even knew existed, but I could have a lot of fun with the character of Bill Veeck in knowing how he operated and how he promoted, and I could have him involve Eli in some of his, let's just say, harebrained promotions.
No, that's smart. That's smart marketing, too, so it doesn't get drowned out. How can people go about, Mark, how can they go about purchasing this book?
Well, it's available on Amazon, and if you just type in Eli the Phenom, Phenom short for phenomenon, you'll find it on Amazon. Actually, the other day, I typed it in, and it popped up right underneath John Grisham's baseball novel, Calico Joe. But I would suggest you buy mine because Grisham's doing really well. So I prefer, you support the starving artist. But find it on Amazon. And then one of the things that other ways I'm reaching out is if your local library would like to have a book talk. I know a lot of them do it on a regular basis. I've got a couple scheduled already, and I know you guys have my email address on file. You can just send folks my way, and I'll be happy to schedule a time and come out and do a library book talk, and I'll bring some copies of Eli, the Phenom story, along with me.
How long did it take you to write this?
Great question. This book, like I said, I've never written in this form before, but this book came out of Governor DeWine shutting down the state for COVID. We had plenty of time on the weekends, and we had nothing to do. And so I reached into my little idea file that I keep, and I pulled out this idea that I had a number of years ago. And at 5:30 one Saturday morning, I opened up my laptop, and I started writing. And let's see, probably about 5 to 6 months later, I had the first draft.
Well, that's great. That's great that you were able to turn
kind of revising and revamping and showing it to some folks who have a real nose for history, for Amish life and culture, and, some folks like that to help me make sure I'm right on a lot of the things that I was writing. So the honing process took longer than a year, but the initial draft was 6 months.
Wow. Well, that is great, and I'm glad that you're seeing some success, and it seems like this is a lifelong dream of yours to have written and published your own book that is now going to be in people's homes for them to read and enjoy.
Well, thank you for saying that. It really is kind of interesting. I mean, the feeling that came over me when that first box arrived of the 20 author copies I got from Amazon, and I opened it up and just stared at it. And it was very, very odd, the feeling that came over me to actually see it sitting there in front of me after all this time. But, it was just a great process. I had a great guy who made the book look really great. So, without a guy like Isaac Hirschberger, it wouldn't have happened. Without a great cartoonist like Alan Markovic, it wouldn't have happened because I've got cartoons in the book that are done in the 1946 newspaper style. And then a cover designer like my middle daughter, it couldn't have happened.
Wow.
I'm leaning on a lot of people here, but I think it just turned out great, and I can't wait for people to read it.
That is such a satisfying feeling, like you hit on saying, when you got that first box, and it was so rewarding. I'm a publisher of a newspaper, and I'll never forget that feeling either. It is incredible. You really can't even explain it to someone who has never experienced. Mark Zimmerman, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope you have tons of sales, and this book, I'm going to have to get my hands on a copy myself. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate having the time. Thank you.